Okay, the Supreme Court, has struck down a Trump-era ban on bump stocks. The High Court found that the Trump administration did not follow federal law when it reversed course on banned bump stocks. Trump pushed for the ban in response to the 2017 mass shooting that killed 58 people at an outdoor music festival in Las Vegas. Bump stocks allow a shooter to convert a semi-automatic rifle into a weapon that can fire at a rate of hundreds of rounds a minute using the recoil of the weapon. Here to discuss further is Executive Director, San Diego County Gun Owners PAC, Michael Schwartz. Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
I was just saying, I'll bet 95% of the people who are watching right now have no idea what a bump stock is.
Yeah, well, part of the reason is that despite the fact that it was struck down in the Supreme Court, bump stocks have long been banned in the state of California, so we can't get them now anyway under state law, but that's a whole separate issue. A bump stock it replaces a stock on an AR style rifle. And what it does is it allows the user of the rifle to more quickly and efficiently pull the trigger. It doesn't change the function of the trigger. So it's still semi-automatic, meaning one pull of the trigger, one bullet comes out. But it it uses the inertia, it uses the recoil of the firearm to be able to hit that trigger quicker. Is really all it is.
So the recoil, let me read this, okay?
Sure.
Justice Clarence Thomas, in his opinion, a bump stock does not convert a semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun any more than a shooter with a lightning-fast trigger finger does.
And that's really all it does. Is it provides for a more smoother ability to pull the trigger. It just uses the actual momentum, the recoil of the firearm to in effect, have the firearm push against your finger. So that it goes in more of almost like a piston style manner, so that you can pull it, so the trigger goes a little bit faster, significantly faster in some cases. And there was actually a lot of discussion in this case on the function of a trigger and what does it actually mean to be semi-automatic. The Justice Thomas, who wrote the majority opinion piece, really explained that, hey, you can't just redefine something. Like there is a definition of a trigger, of a semi-automatic trigger, and this is a semi-automatic. It is not a machine gun. It doesn't turn it into a machine gun. And Sotomayor, she's the one that wrote the opinion, the minority opinion, basically said, hey, look, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. But that's not really true. You know, if a parrot says quack, it's still a parrot, you know what I mean? And so I really think that her writing was really more emotional. It didn't really delve into the function, and she kind of missed the mark. In fact, I think her words are going to come back to haunt her, because at one point when she was trying to really make a bump stock seem evil, she said, hey, this turns a normal everyday rifle that people use into a far more lethal machine. Well, the normal everyday rifle is an AR, and her side, the anti-gun side, and her in the past have talked about how ARs are these horrible, war machines. But here in her decision, she's saying, hey, these are just normal everyday rifles. So there was a lot of nuance. There was a lot of discussion on the technical aspects of a trigger, but that's not really what this whole case was about. The case was about the ATF way overstepping their authority. The ATF is under the executive branch. It's a bureaucracy. It's a little department of the executive branch. They're not lawmakers. So what they did is they at first, years ago, said, hey, a bump stock is totally legal. Everybody's good to go. But then under the Trump administration said, hey, you know what? These are illegal. They turn a gun into a machine gun, which isn't true. Well, that's creating a law. And that turned a lot of people who thought they were law-abiding into a potential criminal. And they're not allowed to do that. That's the job of the legislative branch of government, which is Congress. And that's really the heart and soul. That's the important part of this case, is that the ATF went way out of bounds when they changed a bump stock into a machine gun.
What can Congress do?
Well, Congress can go back and they can try to make a bump stock illegal, but then I think Congress is going to bump up against the Second Amendment. A couple of years ago, there was the Bruin case, which is a Supreme Court case that basically said, hey, you got to look at the text, the tradition, and the history of the Second Amendment. And if there is nothing in the text, there's no history, no tradition of banning a bump stock, then it's probably going to be considered unconstitutional. But at least the proper process is, if you're going to make a law, go through Congress. So it was really interesting to see them. It's about a 20-page opinion in the majority. And it was interesting to see them discuss way down in the weeds just exactly what a trigger was. But the result really is, this was a bit of a smackdown for the ATF. And I got to tell you, here in California, gun owners, gun shops, we've seen firsthand that the ATF is really, I mean, at worst case scenario, sometimes a predatory agency. They really truly have gone way outside of their scope, and I think it's about time that they were put in check. And this Supreme Court decision is a major, major help in that.
Okay, more to come on this. Michael Schwartz, always great to talk to you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.